Hi everyone, welcome back to the Comptia Network Plus course. Deauthentication. A wireless deauthentication attack is a form of a DOS attack in which the attacker sends a large number of management packets called deauthentication frames on the WLAN, which means wireless LAN, causing stations to be disconnected from the access point. WPS attacks. Wi-Fi protected setup. WPS, originally Wi-Fi simple config, is a network security standard that attempts to allow users to easily secure a wireless home network. It works by enabling the user to add a device to the network without typing credentials. All the user needs to do is push the WPS button located on many home wireless access points. When this function is enabled, which it is by default on many systems, it is possible for a hacker to perform a brute force attack on the password and then later on the network pre-shared key for WPA or WPA2. Users should disable this feature if the device allows this change. Rogue access points. Rogue access points are access points that you do not control and manage. There are two types: those that are connected to your wired infrastructure and those that are not. The ones that are connected to your wired network present a danger to your wired and wireless network. They may be placed there by your own users without your knowledge, or may be purposely put there by the hacker. In either case, they allow access to your wired network. Wireless intrusion prevention system (IPS) devices are usually used to locate them and alert administrators of their presence. Rogue access points that are not connected to your wired infrastructure are usually used as part of a hijacking attack, which is discussed in the next section. Evil twin. An evil twin is an AP that is not under your control but is used to perform a hijacking attack. A hijacking attack is one in which the attacker connects one or more of your users' computers to their network for the purpose of a peer-to-peer network. The attack begins with the introduction of an access point that is under the hacker's control. This access point will be set to use the same network name or SSID your network will use, and it will be set to require no authentication, creating what is called an open network. Moreover, this access point will be set to use a different channel than the access point under your control. To understand how the attack works, you must understand how wireless stations, laptops, PDAs and so on choose an access point with which to connect. It is done by SSID and not by channel. The hacker will jam the channel on which your access point is transmitting. When a station gets disconnected from an access point, it scans the area for another access point with the same SSID. The stations will find the hacker's access point and will connect to it. Once the station is connected to the hacker's access point, it will receive an IP address from a DHCP server running on the access point, and the user will now be located on the same network as the hacker. At this point, the hacker is free to commence a peer-to-peer attack. Bluejacking. Bluejacking is an attack aimed at Bluetooth connections. It sends unsolicited messages to the devices. These messages are typically in the form of a V card that contains the message in the name field. While these attacks are annoying, they are not serious when compared to the attack in the next section, which is also a Bluetooth attack. Bluesnarfing. Bluesnarfing is an unauthorized access of a Bluetooth enabled device. These attacks allow access to the data on the device and make the use of peering function used to connect two devices to transfer data between them. Users should be advised to disable the function that makes their device discoverable and enable it manually only when a connection needs to be made. Attackers and their tools. The old adage, never talk to strangers, applies here, because you can't spot a hacker by looking at one. That quiet 15-year-old kid next door or the head of the PTA could secretly be a criminal hacker or cracker in nerd speak. You just never know. But instead of living your life being suspicious of everyone you meet, it's much better to understand the ways and strategies bad guys use to infiltrate your defenses. The interaction between a hacker and a network administrator can be anything from a harmless game of cat and mouse to a terrorist attack on national security. Either way, there's someone out there trying to break into or crash your system, and it's up to you to track and prevent these attacks. Network attacks executed by an actual hacker are called directed attacks. For instance, a bad guy can use the WinNuke utility, which I'll discuss soon, to generate a packet and send it to a specific machine. On the other hand, viruses aren't usually directed attacks. Instead, they're just blindly copied from user to user. I'll start by telling you about some common network attacks and then move on to cover the techniques used to prevent them from happening to you. Application layer attacks. Application layer attacks usually zero in on well-known holes in software that's running on our servers. Favorite targets include FTP, SendMail, and HTTP because the permissions level granted to these accounts is often privileged. This means that bad guys who break in not only gain access to your network, but also get the added bonus of having privileged status while they're in there. ActiveX Attacks. A fairly new form of attack makes its way to your computer through ActiveX and Java programs applets. These are miniature programs that run on a web server or that you download to your local machine. Most ActiveX and Java applets are safe, but some contain viruses or snoop or spyware programs. Snoop or spyware programs allow a hacker to look at everything on your hard drive from a remote location without you knowing about it, which is really bad. So be sure to properly configure the on-access component of your antivirus software to check and clean for these types of attacks. Autorooters. You can think of autorooters as a kind of hacker automation. Hackers use something called a rootkit to probe, scan, and then capture data on a strategically positioned computer that's poised to give them eyes into entire systems automatically. This is clearly very bad for you and your data. Note that this is typically how a cracker can access a Mac or a Unix box. Backdoors. Backdoors are simply paths leading into a computer or network, from simple invasions to elaborate Trojan horses. Villains can use their previously placed inroads into a specific host or network whenever they want to. That is, unless you can detect them and stop them in their tracks. Network reconnaissance. Before breaking into a network, bad guys gather all the information they can about it, because the more they know about the network, the better they can compromise it. This is called network reconnaissance. Hackers accomplish their objectives through methods like port scans, domain name service, DNS queries, and ping sweeps, even social engineering or phishing. Packet sniffer. A packet sniffer is a software tool that can be incredibly effective in troubleshooting a problematic network. But it can also be a hacker's friend. Here's how it works. A network adapter card is set to promiscuous mode, so it will send all packets snagged from the network's physical layer through to a special application to be viewed and sorted out. A packet sniffer can nick some highly valuable sensitive data, including but not limited to passwords, usernames, making such a tool a prize among identity thieves. Port scanners. Port scanners are programs that ping every port on the target to identify which ports are open. It does this by pinging the IP address of the target with the port number appended after a colon. If an answer is received, the port is open. Open ports can lead to services the hacker can potentially exploit. FTP Bounce. This attack is a variation of the port scan in that the attacker uses the FTP port command to request access to ports indirectly by using the victim machine as the middleman for the request. This cloaks the identity of the device performing the port scan. Port-Redirection Attacks. A port-redirection attack requires a host machine the hacker has broken into and uses to redirect traffic that normally wouldn't be allowed passage through a firewall. The attacker gains access to a trusted computer that is outside the firewall and installs software on the machine. They then redirect traffic bound for a particular port on the trusted yet not now compromised host to their machine. Trust-Exploitation Attacks. Trust-Exploitation Attacks happen when someone exploits a trust relationship in your network. The attacker gains control of a host that is outside the firewall yet is trusted by hosts that are inside the firewall. Once compromised, the host outside the firewall can be used as a platform to exploit the fact it is trusted by those inside the firewall. Man in the middle attack. Interception, but it's not a football, it's a bunch of your network packets, your precious data. A man in the middle attack happens when someone intercepts packets intended for your computer and reads the data. A common guilty party could be someone working for your very own ISP using a packet sniffer and augmenting it with routing and transport protocols. Rogue ATM machines and even credit card swipers are tools that are increasingly used for this type of attack. Figure 1411 shows a man in the middle attack. So here we go. See here in figure 1411, man in the middle attack. If the client, man in the middle, which I suppose is monitoring traffic, and here then is the web server. So I'm going to leave it there today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing and subscribing. Thank you.